Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Music Month Minute. I'm Derica Abraham, and my guest today needs no introduction. Her music is in a category of its own. She's a singer, songwriter, and human rights activist who continues to inspire us all through her music. And like me, she's from the Bay Area. Goapele, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
And I didn't know you were from the Bay.
That I'm from the Bay too. That's why I was like, right, oh yeah, she has to be here. You know, while I was doing research, I learned something very interesting about your history. Your father, Douglas Mohalambane, he was exiled from South Africa. He was a political activist who struggled against apartheid and moved your family to California, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he grew up during the apartheid.
Okay.
So when anyone that was trying to leave that system, you know, and live in some kind of freedom, unless it was through education or performing arts, you just had to leave illegally. And if you left illegally, you weren't able to come back, you know. So he, like many other people, lived in exile for a lot of his life until the laws changed in the 90s and Mandela became president. He was able to return home and finally see family again.
Wow. Right. And then when did you get into music, into songwriting and singing? When did that happen?
I was always into music.
Okay.
I mean, my mom says I was like singing when I was learning to talk. You know, I think that's one of the things with singing. It's like you're carrying your instrument in your body. So it's like, it was a form of entertainment for me growing up, and I always loved it. I probably started songwriting in college. I went to Berklee College of Music and worked with Jeff Basker and different folks out there because I really wanted to turn my poetry into songs and sing songs that I believed in.
Speaking of recording some songs, you're actually working on an album. Tell me about it. It has to do with Afrobeats?
Yes. Yeah, well, recently I put out an album called Colors.
Colors.
It was my
I like that song, Purple.
Thank you.
Go listen to her album, Colors, okay? My favorite is Purple, but tell us about that album.
Thank you. Yes, it's like a super vibey album and just like a lot of introspective songs and kind of what I was going through during the pandemic. And then now I feel like I'm in a place where I want to do music that I dance to. You know what I mean? In my own music that I love and enjoy in my own personal life.
Okay.
And so it's going to be Amapiano, which is, you know, South African production.
Okay.
And Afrobeats.
Tell me something that most people don't know about you.
I'm a Cancer, so I'm like shy and bold. So I think I kind of go back and forth all the time.
Okay.
Something that you wouldn't know? I don't know. I'd probably be embarrassed to say what you don't know. I'd have to think about that. What do I want to share that isn't out there? I'm newly single.
Oh,
that's a private.
She's single.
That's a private thing that, you know. So I don't know. Maybe we'll explore some of that in this new music.
In this new music, yeah. Speaking of music, what's your creative like writing process?
Up until now, I've been working with a lot of producers and musicians that I've known almost the whole time. Okay. You know, from the Bay Area, Bedrock and Mike Tiger and Errol Cooney and just phenomenal musicians, and you know.
How do you balance your creativity and commercial?
That is a great question. I think it's a lot of the reason that I've stayed independent for most of my career, so that I could feel free to do the music that I want and not be like boxed in.
What's been the most memorable moment in your career?
One is the first time Prince came to a show.
Prince came to a show?
Yeah, and I didn't know he was going to be there, and it was just after one of my live shows in LA. It was probably like 2007, 6 or something like that, maybe 2005 or 6.
Okay.
And afterwards, my brother who was managing me at the time was like, we got to go out, you know, and say hi to someone. And I was just thinking, like, who's not going to come back here and say hi? I was like, I got to walk up all the stairs. It was like at the knitting factory or something like that. The Key Club. It was something that had a lot of stairs. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, it better be Prince. But to be honest with you, I didn't really think it was Prince. I was just thinking, like, who's in the audience? And they're making me come to them and walk up all these stairs on the heels. And he was like, well, and I walked up there and I was just like, oh my God. It was just, that was very memorable for me, you know, and we became friends and he was really supportive and of course, like, has just like inspired me before and after, especially in songwriting and performing. Yeah. And I would say another time is the first time I got to go to Stevie Wonder's studio.
Oh, Stevie Wonder.
Yes, and
so he's also a fan of your music.
And just like, I mean, that's like one of the musical inspirations that's been like one of the longest musical inspirations in my life. Yeah. And he's so humble and I got to listen to some music that he was working on and just even that he like acknowledged Closer and like sung a piece of it or so. I was just like, is this real? Like those kind of affirmations are just, I don't know, they stick out in my mind. And also there was a show that I did with Hugh Masekela, who I grew up listening to, and my parents, you know, were huge fans, but also we knew him personally. Amazing trumpet player from South Africa who was also living in exile for a lot of his life, right? Because he was doing music that talked about what was happening under the apartheid system. And we did a show together right after I had my daughter, and he came out and played on Closer. And
is your daughter a performer too? Or does she sing?
Yes, but more so in theater.
Oh, okay. Oh, we gotta look for her in the future too. Speaking of Closer, that song never gets old. I mean, that's a song, I just heard it last week driving in the car here in LA, and I started singing it. It's just a wonderful song. What do you hope people gain after listening to your music? What do you hope they take away?
I want people to feel like there's hope for whatever they're trying to go after. Yeah. You know, I think it's more that I always want to do music that's authentic, and even if people don't exactly relate to the lyrics, I want them to relate to an authentic feeling, you know, and it to just like ignite something in them.
Be sure to pick up Goapele's latest album, Colors, and follow her on social media. Thank you again for being here. It was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.